Hello.
Hello, Andre.
Hey, Shannon. What's good diggity good with you? What's up?
Well, I got a job. I'm not going to say what it is,
Oh
but
my
I got a
God.
job. Um, which is exciting. So, Mama's going to make some money, which
Yeah,
is
you
good.
finally get hired at that stripper club, right?
What?
That stripper club downtown?
Oh, let's not talk about that.
Okay.
Um, Definitely no. But you can just imagine that if you want, but also recognize that I look like Miranda Cosgrove, so you're going to be picturing iCarly on a pole. So,
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder shit. And I
yeah.
bet
So
you
how are you?
someone has a fetish for Miranda Cosgrove.
Oh
I
yeah.
am good. I mean, I low-key do. Dancing Crazy is a bop and a half. I am good. Um fine. It's been a chill week. It's hot down here in SoCal. Right now,
Yeah.
I hate it. Like, air's dry. I don't mind heat when it's kind of humid outside, but boy. Anyway, enough of the weather talk. We're not 70 years old.
Speak
Today
for
we're gonna.
yourself.
I'm sorry, I forgot. Today we're gonna be talking about human sacrifices. So, everyone who's ever sacrificed a fellow human, please gather around. Um,
Yes.
Now,
Tell us your story.
Shannon, have you ever? No, I'm
No,
kidding.
I told
um,
you I wasn't going to do a test run this time because I felt like it would be inappropriate.
um, okay, so I guess in all seriousness, like, what do you? Well, that's kind of a silly question. What do you know about human sacrifice? Well, you fucking kill someone. That's what you know about it, and
Right.
that's really all you need to know. And that's really kind of like the gist of it.
Yeah.
um,
I guess the intentions can be different. Like people can do it for a god or just the general like notion of fortune or something, but that's like the main thing I noticed as a difference.
Correct. I mean, I guess I could give a little bit more specified background. Um, so by the Iron Age, throughout the Old World, that means Europe and the Middle East, um, like human sacrifice was still being practiced, but at that point, it started to be looked down upon as as a barbaric practice,
Mhm.
and so they kind of like that started dissipating at that point. But in the New World, think before Columbus, the population was still practicing it there, and it was actually very widespread. So not
Do
fun.
you do you
Yeah.
think there was like a moment like psychologically where we developed our morality or do you think it was just always there but it was hidden by like hive mind or like what do you
Well,
think happened there?
right. But see, this is why I'm going so far into like antique, like historical background, even though it doesn't seem very relevant. It's because I don't know, neither of those actually. I think that human morality is like a completely subjective concept. You are given that as you grow up, like it's a learned concept. Um,
Yeah.
that's why different cultures and religions have differing moral compasses that people employ upon themselves. I think because it really is subjective. Like if there was one objective moral compass that was kind of innate to human nature, then we'd all share it, but we don't. Like people have different views on. I mean, I'm not even gonna get started on all kinds of shit that
Yeah.
relates to life and death. So yeah, neither. I just think that people develop these beliefs somehow about human sacrifice, like sacrificing to the gods, or for good harvest, or for good luck. And so they practice them, and the only reason they start practice them is because they either grew out of them because they felt like something about it was fucked up. I mean, it took them a long ass time to realize that, or another group came along and stopped that, which was the case with the New World people. The Europeans came and colonized, and they stopped that. So
Mhm.
yeah,
I feel like I mean maybe this is like a religious thing because if you're sacrificing to a god it's like okay, but I still don't understand that. But also, if you can it be compared, and I'm not coming for anyone specifically here because I know people who do this, but like the whole like luck thing or good fortune thing, like, do you think like where's the line between reading your horoscope and then sacrificing someone for like good luck?
I think I think there's quite a leap between plans for sacrifice and actually like twisted, warped actions taken. Like,
Yeah.
um, yeah, like I mean, the fact that you're reading a horoscope, like it's all happening internally. Like you're absorbing that information, and you're like, this is interesting. Like now I'm informed about what's gonna happen to me on Wednesday because the moon is gonna take a shit. Like, I
Is that like an actual astrological event?
yeah,
Is that what meteors are?
that's for Taurus. I just read it yesterday. It was for me. I and then there's like I'm gonna plan to do whatever, even if it isn't a full human, even if it's like I don't know, if
Yeah.
like putting the foot of a rabbit and putting it on your neck, like,
Yeah.
which I still think is fucked up. Like I think that there's quite the leap there.
Right. It's just, you mess around a little bit. It's like I've burned some sage to like clear the energy in my bedroom, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah,
I don't actually believe in it. But then, like, I don't know. Like, how slippery is the human mind, I
yeah. No,
guess. But
I don't think there's like I don't think like incense is the marijuana gateway drug to your human sacrifice. Like, no.
that's fair. Okay. Yeah. I just want to like raise these thoughts so that we can have like a meter of like, is this okay? Human
Right.
sacrifice? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe just a pinky. I don't know.
Okay, so this is gonna. I feel like this is gonna come into relevance later on in the episode, so I'm just gonna read it off of the Wikipedia article, which yes is legit and good and like all kinds of good shit. So
We
don't shit on
stand.
Wikipedia. Okay. In modern times, even the practice of animal sacrifice has disappeared from some religions, and human sacrifice has become extremely rare. I love how they say extremely rare and not like not a thing anymore because it is happening still.
Yeah.
Most religions condemn the practice, and modern secular laws treat it as murder. In a society which condemns human sacrifice, the term ritual murder is used rather than human sacrifice. So,
Hmm.
listen, Hunty. We live in the West, and in the West, any kind of human sacrifice is considered ritualistic murder. What
Mm-hmm.
are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think that I just think that words matter. um,
Okay.
I think that if you call it human sacrifice, like because it's so fucked up, like I think the person who does that deserves like grand punishment. I think that, and oftentimes murder doesn't necessarily lead to life in prison. I mean, for sure, not even the death penalty. Like that's not for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but even like below that, like even sometimes life in prison isn't even certain. So I feel like if it was like
Mm-hmm.
human sacrifice, like that would be like, oh my god, like this person deserves to die, like an eye for an eye. I don't know. I mean, I'm not even saying
Hmm.
that that's the most like proper way to implement justice
Mm-hmm.
in a society, but like I feel like it would make for a greater punishment, which I think is deserved.
Interesting. We're talking about the death penalty now. I have opinions on that, but I'm not going to say. I will go back to your first question, though, which is like, what do the words mean? And I actually think, especially in the West, ritualistic, what did you say?
Murder,
Murder?
yeah.
Ritualistic murder sounds way more gritty to me. I feel like you kind of mentioned human sacrifice sounds worse, I think. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I think ritualistic murder is way sketchier in the West because we are predominantly, well, I don't know if we're predominantly, but people seem to think this is a Christian nation. And when they hear ritualistic, they automatically see like Satan and hoods and blood on the ground in like symbols and stuff. And I think that that would have a bigger impact on people to
Honestly, I
like,
think you have a really good point.
yeah, I think that would have a huge effect on the jury and the court and the trial. And then human sacrifice, that the word sacrifice, it sounds very much like you're doing this not because you want to but because you feel you have to, which I think automatically leads to the insanity plea. But I don't know.
Wow. My defense of semantics is shook right now. Like I think you've changed my mind a little. I think that makes sense. I mean, um you mentioned in an earlier episode, what did you call it? That like 80s like Satan
Oh
freak,
yeah, satanic
Satan
panic.
fever. Yeah, Satanic Panic. I think that has like permeated throughout the years and never truly left the zeitgeist of
Oh
American
no,
society.
yeah.
So I think that you're right. Yeah, and like even if the society like were not majority Christian, like I think that like all that Christian imagery and symbolism is very much permeated like within American
Mm-hmm.
culture, because I mean it was a very prevalent part of the culture, even if it isn't anymore. And so I feel like there's no escaping. You're right, like those symbols and those notions of like, oh my god, like did Satan have something to do with this? Like fuck.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you're right.
Or
Uh,
painting the person who did it as someone who's without a doubt evil and deserves to die, you know? Which, I
yeah.
mean, maybe they are.
Okay, so while I was looking up background, I came upon this really interesting, just like fun fact, fun, that I want to read to you because it's not really gonna like relate to anything else later on, so I just have to get it out now. So apparently, in medieval Irish Catholic texts, there is mention of the early Catholic Church in Ireland, apparently practicing human sacrifice, which like a big
Oh.
no-no for Catholics. So this is shocking to me.
Oh,
Um,
Catholics.
but again, medieval. So we're talking like 13th century at the latest, but
Yeah.
still not great. And apparently, like once they sacrifice, okay, first, not your usual human sacrifice. It's one of the worst ways to sacrifice someone, which is to bury them alive.
Oh.
But not only do they bury them alive, they bury them alive underneath churches in order to consecrate the bodies. And I guess by consequence, the church, like it's super fucked up. So basically, like the understanding that I got from this is that they would do it under a church, so the person that was just sacrificed like would still go to heaven, like it basically like
Oh.
payment. It's payment, like we're gonna have to
Yeah.
sacrifice you, but like we'll pay you out, like we'll
Right.
guarantee you entry into heaven because we're gonna bury you under a church. That's lit, dude. Yeah.
I don't see any benefit for the person being sacrificed here. Like, just barring the whole afterlife thing, like, what possible value? Like, why couldn't you have taken Dave, who works over in the meat market? Why are you sacrificing me for the church construction? I don't get it.
Yeah. So okay. Now on the point of the actual words ritualistic murder, this is some another kind of um tangent that draws from this. So like ritual killings as we understand them in like modern American society are defined as killings that are perpetrated by individuals or small groups within a society that denounces them as simple murder, yet they're
Hmm.
actually like human sacrifice. Okay, like the point that I'm trying to make here is that some people have tried to include things like serial killers or think like Jonestown into instances of human sacrifice,
Hmm.
aka ritual murder, having happened in modern times. I'm
Hmm.
not sure I totally agree with it, but I
Mm-hmm.
will list for you the examples they give. The Zodiac Killer, any kind of doomsday
Oh.
cults like the People's
Hmm.
Temple or the Order of the Solar Temple, Heaven's Gate. Bitch, they listed superior universal alignment.
Yeah,
uh,
no, I don't buy that
yeah.
one at all.
I mean, like, but like, wasn't it like? Remember when I talked about it, like the crazy Brazil killings of the '90s? Like, wasn't this woman being like, "Oh, like all boys born after 1980 or whatever are evil, and so they have to be killed"?
But that's
Wasn't
not
that kind of a
like
human sacrifice?
that's not a sacrifice, so that's a mission because they're not getting anything in return. They're just doing it because they think they deserve it.
No, I think that she thought that if she killed the evil boys, meaning any boy born after 1980, she was gonna be granted like
Oh.
going up to heaven or something like that.
What? Going up to the home ship or whatever, the
Yeah,
mothership?
I already forgot. I blocked it.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, honestly, for your own safety, you should block it from your mind, just psychologically.
so okay, so now that I told you that, do you consider it human sacrifice? Also, the other ones, do you consider the other example of
Mm.
human sacrifice?
I think that there's a good case to be made for the Zodiac killer because we never caught him. If you're thinking about the Zodiac
I
as
mean,
Arthur.
it's Ted Cruz, but okay.
Oh, I did not see that one coming. I guess we can say that, but I don't want him to come for me. So, I was about to say, unless you think it was Arthur Lee Allen, not Ted Cruz. And
Uh
the
huh.
reason for that is that Arthur Lee Allen was always portrayed as being relatively sane. And so I
Hmm.
don't think that that would have been classified as human sacrifice if that was him. And that's never been proven. And then the other one, I think you said the People's Temple?
Yes. And also Heaven's Gate. Yeah.
And Heaven's Gate. I don't know. I feel like those just aren't that convincing. I feel like when we get into like cult suicide territory, it has to just be classified as suicide because like they think that they're gaining something, but like they're not. Like let's just be
I
real, they're
mean,
not.
like the ancient Mayans thought they were. Oh, well, I think you're gonna talk about them actually. Like they thought they were gaining something, but like was it actual
Right.
tangible?
But
Like
when
could you
you're
see
like
it?
when you're alive, you can actually kind of paint these patterns of cause and effect in your mind and be like, okay, yeah, that worked, even if it obviously didn't. Like if I was just like standing outside and I felt a slight breeze and I was like, it's gonna rain later, and then it rained, I'd be like, yeah, I predicted that. But if it didn't, I'd just be like, well, the gods were angry with me, you know? Like I have the actual mind capacity of being alive to be able to make a distinction and justify it. Whereas if you're dead, you can't do that.
Okay, here. I'll meet you in the middle. I don't think they're human sacrifice like proper, because I feel like the definition should be more narrow, aka like one, not a big ass group of people, and
Mm-hmm.
two, I feel like a serial killer, like yeah, it's never like I feel like seldom the serial killers kill people because they think it's a sacrifice. I think they do it because they have a pathology.
Yeah.
But I don't see something like Jonestown as like mere pathological homicide on the part of the cult leader, because regardless of whether they were alive to see the effects of the killing or not, like they still legitimately thought in their delusion that they were going to get something out of it, therefore the
Mm,
death of the people was necessary, and that sounds like a sacrifice.
well, actually, Jonestown was sketchy because a lot of them didn't actually kill themselves. They were
Right,
forced.
right. That's
So,
why I'm saying the leader. Also, a lot
mm,
of human sacrifices, the sacrificees aren't willing participants, so that's not necessarily
yeah.
a
Yeah,
requirement.
that's fair.
Uh, can you imagine? I volunteer.
Isn't that what the Hunger Games is about?
Pretty much. So, okay, we'll leave it at that. But interesting conversation. Okay. Now, what I want to go into is a couple of examples of I have, because I know you're talking about more historical, or at least not exclusively like Western examples. I want to keep it modern and contemporary, and like this is a thing that I found that I thought was really interesting. So, what I'm going to
Mm,
share with you today are a couple of contemporary cases of human sacrifice. Now, buckle in, because
okay.
boy, I was reading these and I was like, just like, ugh. Okay.
Hmm.
So, the first case I want to talk to you about is the case of Amelia Espinosa, and this happened in 2011. And the article that I found that talked about it was kind of like a okay. The article that I found that talked about it like had a picture of like a butcher like cutting meat as like fucking
No.
like accompanying picture for and I'm just like, oh my god, like clickbait much, like I can't. Um like that's very poor taste. Anyway,
Yeah.
so okay. So there's this lady. Well, there was this lady. Rest in peace. Her name was Amelia Espinosa. She was a 42-year-old California woman. One day in 2011. Actually, let me go back a little. So this woman had a son. Her son was 18 years old. His name was Moises Moraz Espinosa. He was a factory worker. It was speculated that the son had a distraught, uh, well, had a bad relationship with his mother, number one, and two, was distraught over his girlfriend's recent death in a car accident. And so this may have, both of these things may have led him to the gruesome murder.
Mm.
So the reason that he, if I remember correctly, that he didn't have a good relationship with his mom is because he didn't approve of his musical taste. So like, I guess he listened to, I guess he listened to like too much metal. I don't know. Oh my god, what if he was like really into like Katy Perry and the mom was like a Metallica? That would have been funny. Um, Anyway, she didn't like that, among other things, apparently. So the prosecutor, however, stated that the murder was motivated by sheer evil and
Hmm.
Moises' firm satanic beliefs. Now, I bring this up because you mentioned earlier, like some people maybe are just pure evil. See, I don't know that I buy that. I don't, I don't know. I don't think evil is like something that can like cause an infestation within you and like take over you. I think like evil is actions, and fucked up people do evil. That doesn't justify their evil, but I don't think evil is a personality trait or a state of being. Uh,
Hmm.
I think that's far too simplistic and too like biblical and kind of like writes off a lot of complexity on how people can get to that point, which again, like however they got there, even if it wasn't their fault, still doesn't justify what they do. But like we can't just simplify shit like that. So
Can
anyway,
I save everything you just said for future episodes on exorcism?
oh my god, fine. Um But okay, yeah, but that's what the prosecutor said. This boy, pure evil, also from satanic beliefs because satanic panic isn't over. Anyway, regardless of the the motives, uh, we
I like
know
motifs.
motives. Um, we know how everything ended.
Yes. I mean, I
Um,
don't. You can tell me though.
well, you can kind of guess. So, the boy strangled his mom and then
No.
mutilated her lifeless body.
No.
I always do this, and I always have to like disclaim like I get nervous laughter. I don't think this is hilarious. I just like this is how I deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's what he did. He skinned her, and then he removed her organs and
Oh
cut
my
the body
god.
into pieces with a
Shut
circular
up.
saw.
Are you freaking kidding
Um,
me?
I'm not
That's not human sacrifice. That's just bad, disgusting murder.
this is just so fucked up.
That's not
Like,
okay.
you know what? I think I laugh. I think I laugh because I find something so unbelievable that my brain is just like, how do you process this? Like, who the
Right.
fuck does this shit? Like,
Right.
and it's either like crying or laughter, and we're on a podcast, so I think that's why. Anyway, slices of skin and flesh were later found stacked in a freezer, according to the article. The mom's head was found in a backpack, and it
Oh
had
my
received
god.
some special treatment. Apparently, all of the teeth were taken out, and the eyes were removed, and two upside down crosses were carved into the bone. So
Yeah, this isn't normal behavior. This isn't okay.
I'm taking a breather. You can talk.
This is your life giver, the woman who pushed you out of her and gave you life, and this is what you do. Oh my god.
Yeah, like I mean, if I was mad that my mom didn't like my musical taste, like I just like I don't know,
You would
I'd
like
blast
write your
like
angsty poetry and you
yeah,
would dye
like
your hair black and that would be it.
yeah, like I'd either like turn full emo or be rebellious, like just blast the music throughout the house. I'd be like "fuck you, mom," but like I wouldn't carve upside down crosses on her dead head. It's a little much.
I would hope not. Oh.
So the investigators found a satanic Bible with a chapter about human sacrifice in this guy's backpack. Also, the date of the mom's death apparently matched a day of human sacrifice in the satanic calendar.
What the
So
fuck? He
in
did
this
his
case,
research.
yeah. So in this case, I think that yeah, like fear of satanic like influence in here is like totally justified because like
Yeah.
obviously this fucking influenced that. Like yeah, like whether it was Satanism alone that like infected his head or if he was just a distraught person that looked for shelter in a fucked up belief like satanic human sacrifice is unclear, but like regardless, Satanism had influence in what he did. Now, after the murder, okay, after the murder, this kid goes to his cousin and asks her help to get rid of the body, but she persuades them to confess to the police. Now, I don't know how calm of a conversation this was. I don't know if like the cousin was also into Satanism because I'm just like this sounds like it was very like easy exchange. And if someone comes to me, like my cousin comes to me and it's like I just killed my mom, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, like turn yourself into the police. I'd be like, what the fuck? Like I call it myself immediately. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just getting lost in the text. But anyway, eventually the guy was convicted of first degree murder and sentenced to only 25 years in prison.
Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, and I mean, and I'm sure he was tried as an adult because he was an adult. He was 18 at the time. So very confused about. I wonder if it was like some kind of like insanity plea, partially or something, and that's why he didn't get like life. But I'm surprised. I'm very shook.
25 years.
Because like I understand that some murders and some cases of manslaughter and like some shit, I get it. Like sometimes I feel like yeah, maybe it doesn't require like life because there are extraneous circumstances that make the case more complex than just he's evil and he did it. Like sometimes weird shit and consequences take place. But this guy literally, I feel like almost on purpose made it as gruesome as possible, and he still only got 25. Like, how did the jury look at this and was like, wow, this is the grossest thing I've ever seen in my life? You know what? 25 years. Like, I don't know.
I just feel like there's a lot in that needs to be unpacked about our political system, but I'm not going to go there.
Well, actually, there might have not been a jury because apparently it was a judge that passed on the sentence. I wonder if it was just like a judge like only case. So yeah, and the judge was quoted too as he handed down the sentence as saying, "I don't know what I can say to turn your life around, but you'll have a lot of time to think about it." True, not enough though.
Right. If you're like doing this as like a teen or like early young adult or whatever, you've had enough time in your life to know what's right from wrong, I think, but maybe not.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I mean, I'm not gonna ask you what you think. Like, it's fucked up. It's unless you have something else to say. Like,
No, it's fucked
I
up.
don't. I really don't. Like, I just, I mean, like the case speaks for itself.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Should have gotten more time. Fucking damn. But anyway, okay. Next case. This one is still very unfortunate, but almost a little funny and just so stupid. So in Bangladesh in 2010, there was this bricklaying business that wasn't going very well for its owner. The owner's name isn't actually specified in the research that I did. It's just this unknown Bangladeshi man that sacrificed another unknown Bangladeshi man. Regardless, the story is kind of like mind breaking. So what happens? This guy has a bricklaying business. It's not going well. He decides to take a very unorthodox approach to solve this problem. He realizes that like his customers are complaining that the reds that his company is laying down for them aren't very red, and very red bricks are valued a lot in very rural areas of Bangladesh, and like not having red bricks means that like they weren't baked properly or whatever. I don't know. I don't know about bricks. Okay, what happens? This guy is like, I'm confident that I am baking these bricks right, so it must be something else, some kind of curse, whatever. He brings in a fortune teller for advice. The fortune teller tells him that he needs to sacrifice a human in order to ensure the desired color.
Are you
Uh,
freaking kidding me?
what happens? The owners of the brick field. So at this point, I guess there were two CEOs, and the other one embarked at this point in order to help the other CEO. So both of them were like, okay, fine, fortune teller, thank you for the advice. We need to find some dude. They actually take one of their own workers, 26-year-old man, a bricklayer. They behead him, and
What?
then they burn him in a kiln.
No.
Um,
For better bricks? Why would you? Okay, first of all, why would you take an employee who's going to help you when you get these better bricks? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Two, how long have you known this fortune teller that they can convince you to commit murder, like, literally just by saying so?
the kicker is the bricks did not improve in.
I wonder why. Could it be that he's just a crappy bricklayer and he doesn't know how to bake a red brick?
He thought he did.
This is like the Three Little Pigs, only horrifying, like more horrifying.
It's just so fucked up, but also so stupid. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess that like fortune tellers are a big thing in like rural areas of Bangladesh. I also read some because I was reading other cases as I was like picking these. I read one case about like a woman who got like also she sacrificed some boy or something in India because like she brought in like I don't know, some kind of like shaman thing, but Indian version, which are very popular for like people who are illiterate. Like that's how they get advice on life and business. And so like it's very unfortunate, but also like come the fuck on. Like I don't care how illiterate you are. If someone tells you like you have to kill someone in order to get your like bricks redder, like are you kidding me?
Right.
Okay, yeah. So the men were arrested, thankfully. The fortune teller though was never caught. So
What?
yeah, there's that.
I'm feeling like there's a lot of similarities in these types of cases to just random cult cases, like you said, because like there's just like this level of like stupidity involved. I don't know how else to say that. Like I can't really call it ignorance. Like you should know better, you know?
Yeah,
Like you
I
just
don't think it's
should.
ignorance. I mean, you're an adult. You know that like killing people is bad. You feel. I feel like yeah, like cultists and people who do human sacrifices kind of just actively choose to ignore that, whether it's out of fear or whatever. It's still not justified. Like, come the
Yeah.
fuck on. Like, wake up and run. Like, there's things that are worth dying for, and like escaping a cult is worth risking your life for if the alternative is they make you kill people. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like yeah. I'd
Okay.
rather like die escaping than have to like kill people. Like anyway, that's what I have.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm actually like really intrigued because I wasn't expecting you to cover anything like this. Like I don't know like what I was expecting, but like this was very different from like the normal Andre, I think. I don't know. Like I don't know. Maybe it's because you're touching on Satan, you know, getting into my turf a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
Just kidding. Wow. Well, yeah. I think the sad thing too, like for our listeners, is that it's not going to get any happier when I start talking. So I'm
Yeah.
really sorry.
Also, my plans of eating steak tonight are kind of getting ruined, low key. So what the fuck? Anyway, continue.
Okay. Well, I'll let you know right now. There's nothing in this world that could stop me from eating steak because Mama loves her beef. I'm sorry, vegans. I'm sorry, vegetarians, but I need protein, and it's delicious. Okay, I'll stop now. I'm super sorry.
We're literally already canceled. Like really, the banana girl has come for our wigs. Like we're done. The vegan community like hates us. Bye.
They're done. They're done with us.
Our Twitter is done. I have chickens like riding at the door. You did this to us, Shannon.
Andre does have chickens too, by the
I do
way.
have chickens. Yeah, really cute
Yeah.
chickens. Anyway,
Yeah.
continue.
Okay, so I'm gonna open with Mayan. I don't know why I said Maya. I mean, they call it plural. Okay, it's fine. Mayans. How come all my intros are bad?
I'm not cutting out any of this.
Okay, that's fine. So the first thing we have to know about human sacrifice in the Mayan civilization is blood was a huge thing for them. They love their blood, and honestly, like if you're gonna do a human sacrifice, why shouldn't it be rooted in blood? Like of all the parts of your body that have value, like your blood just flows. It's full of like life metaphors and poetry. Vampires exist. Come on. Okay.
Yeah.
So this was viewed as a potent source of nourishment for the Maya deities. So basically, the gods wanted blood. I mean, metaphorically and unmetaphorically.
Yeah.
So these were all considered blood offerings, not necessarily like needing any particular body part, which I'm going to talk about later. So what they would do, and this is kind of weird. It's the Mayans would be like at war with people, or like they would have people like imprisoned, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. And so what they would do is they would use the highest status of their prisoners to sacrifice for the Mayan gods. They wouldn't really want to use the lower status captives because I guess their blood just wasn't good enough.
Yeah, I mean, you're sacrificing to the gods. Like you have to
Right.
give them something good to chew on.
But that's just kind of like in my mind it's like that's wasteful. Like they're the higher value. Like you should use them for stuff. But no, they sacrifice the high status prisoners and they use the lower status captives for
I
labor.
I don't think it could anyway. Like when you take prisoners of war, like you can't really convert them to become part of your staff in your military strategy because they could snitch, like they could have double loyalty, like they could not actually be loyal to you and just be looking for any way to betray you at any moment because I mean you fucking capture them. Like you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
They have the kind of psyche that people who join cults need to have, but then again, they would never join a cult. So there's a lot of depictions in classic Mayan art of human sacrifice. Um, a lot of it is kind of mentioned in hieroglyphic texts that were in the classic period, which is around AD 900, and then deep into post classic, which would be 1524. And these have all been verified archaeologically by analysis of skeletal remains alongside these texts and these hieroglyphs. So, like, this was one of the more verified areas where human sacrifice is like very easily proven, which is why I wanted to talk about this, because there are instances in so many cultures, like so many, like Japan, India, like you had mentioned, just all over the place. Even Europe did human sacrifices, but
Hmm.
it's harder to prove because like it would look like it, but they don't have any text about it because like why would they keep that one? And two, like how are we gonna find it? You know? So this was pretty intense, and
Yeah.
the ways in which they did this is really brutal. I don't think it's quite as brutal as what you were talking about earlier, but so
I hope not.
yeah, I mean it's pretty bad. So the Maya, the most common ways they would do human sacrifices would be decapitation and heart extraction. Other
Yeah,
ways
I've
they
heard
would
about
do
that.
it, yeah. Other ways they would do it would be shooting a victim with arrows, hurling sacrifices into a deep sinkhole, which I think is how I would want to go if I was going to be human sacrifice. Like that just sounds like a fun way to go. Like you get a little bit of the adrenaline rush of falling, but please don't do that to me. They would entomb people alive to accompany a noble burial. So someone who was like rich or highly valued, you know, like here's a friend for the afterlife. Know what I'm saying? They'll carry your groceries in the afterlife. So this was actually pretty similar to what you had said about the churches. They would have rituals such as like dedications of building projects, or when they were choosing a new ruler, those would require human sacrifices in order to ensure everything went well, that they would have prosperous times on the throne, prosperous building times, you know. The door hinges have
Mhm.
to work right, even though I don't think they had doors.
No, they did not have doors.
The sacrifice of an enemy king was the most prized offering.
Mm,
And this is actually interesting. What they would do to make sure that, I don't know, it's just they would capture an enemy king, right? And they
mm-hmm.
would just decapitate him. And they would do like this big ritual reenactment of like the Maya death gods. And like it's kind of like a little
Party.
ceremony. Yeah. It's like, first of all, like that's not like a small thing. Y'all went and you found someone else's ruler and then you like did this great thing for everyone to watch. Like, what the fuck? Who does
Bitch,
that?
a party so lit, you'll lose your mind.
It's so dramatic and so theatrical. Like they were not messing around. Like they were just they were the fabulous people of human sacrifices, I guess. Flamboyant.
By
Yeah,
the
so
way, the one with the heart, like, I find that so, I mean, gruesome, but also kind of like cool and almost like dramatic. Because, like, the heart, when you
it
like
is.
pull it out, it still beats for a bit. Kind of like a
Oh.
chicken running with its head cut off. Like, the heart still beats for a couple, like, moments once you pull it
I
out. And, like,
hate that.
I don't know, it's kind of ugh, but yeah.
Yeah, that's nasty. So actually, that brings me to heart extraction, which was more
Mm,
common decapitation during the post-classic period,
mm-hmm.
and supposedly they were influenced by the Aztecs to do this. I don't know who was sitting at a bar on the border being like, "Hey, how do you sacrifice people to the gods?" Oh, you know, cut out their heart. Hmm.
I mean, you gotta admit they had a they had a flair for the dramatic and the theatrical.
Yeah, they did. So this heart extraction would take place in the courtyard of a temple, or sometimes upon the summit of the temple. And this is where it gets even more theatrical. They would like strip the person, the sacrifice, and paint them blue, and they would wear a headdress. So there's no
Hmm.
mistaking what kind of body you're finding if they bear these
Yeah.
signs. um, yeah, it's just there's a lot of weird things going on. People would cut below the victim's left breast, so right where your heart would be, pull it out, still beating, like you said, who then smeared the blood onto upon the image of the temple's god. So it's like, here's the blood. Ha ha ha. It's like he literally
Ooh.
gave it to him. Like why?
Yeah.
um sometimes four of
Maybe, honestly, maybe it was a facial. Because here's the thing: I don't know about nourishment, but I do know that people literally today in
ew,
2019 think that it
yeah.
could be used as a rejuvenation fountain. And I'm sure you have heard of this. Kim Kardashian did it. I mean, granted, it was with her own blood. Like you like extract plasma, and they like do things with it, and they put it on your face, and it's supposed to make you younger. I don't think it works. Something that might actually work though, that it's even more extreme, that I know we talked about in the past, in a past episode, I think, was like rich people buying poor people's blood that are young and injecting themselves with young poor people blood because they can buy it, because they have enough money to buy it.
I'm still shook by the fact that Kim Kardashian did this. But then again, everything they do surprises me, and I should probably just stop being surprised.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know about nourishment. I mean, I don't know about rejuvenation either, but it looks like if one of the two, that one's probably the more likely to work.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
so sometimes they would do like the method of the throwing into a hole, which actually, now that I'm like looking at this again, I don't think this sounds that pleasant. They would throw. Oh, wait, never mind. So this isn't a form of sacrifice. This is separate from the hole. This is what they do with the body. So what they do with the body when they're done cutting out the heart is they throw it down the steps of the courtyard, and then assistant priests will skin it and then keep the skin on the hands and the feet. This is important. Not that I'm
Okay.
giving you instructions.
I'm writing all this down. No, no patterns are out.
And then the priest would remove his ritual attire and dress himself in the skin of the victim before performing, and I quote, a ritual dance that symbolized the rebirth of life. It was normally a courageous warrior who had been sacrificed, and then the corpse would be cut into portions, and parts would be eaten by attending warriors and other bystanders.
Oh my god. So they did cannibalism?
Yeah, they did, which I had heard about, but I wasn't really like investigating ever because I'm not really like, like why would I?
Yeah.
But so that was interesting. That's definitely different. And I guess just like the whole like I'm gonna wear this guy's skin and dance in it is just a little too Silence of the Lambs for me, but it's also very theatrical, which is what they're all about. So I
Yeah,
mean,
let's bring it back. Like modern art is dead anyway. Like we need something refreshing, something new. Like Madonna, Beyonce, and Gaga aren't doing enough for us. Like we need a revival of art. This might do it. Like,
Gaga,
yeah.
Gaga wore that meat dress. Like maybe she was doing
Oh
it.
my god, I'm so shook, and you're so right. You're right.
The vegans hate us. I'm so sorry, guys. So, just like to end this whole situation with the mines, I want to talk about. Also, a lot of this research was literally from Wikipedia. So, yeah, we stand.
I mean, as
Um,
long as you check your sources.
yeah. So, there was a situation in 1511 when the Spanish conquest was happening, and a Spanish caravel called Santa Maria de la Barca
Mm-hmm.
set sail along the Central American coast, and basically they crashed upon where the Mayans were, and there were some survivors, and I think you can guess how this ends, but they were seized by the Maya lord Halak Unik, and the captain of the ship was sacrificed with 4 of his companions, and their flesh was served as a feast. The other prisoners were fattened and, ate them later.
I mean, it's the least they can get for giving the native smallpox. Am I right? Like, damn.
I mean, yeah, that's the other thing. It's like, how mad am I about this? Because colonialism's caused a lot of problems. You know what I mean?
Right. I
Um,
mean, like, okay, so you guys ended human sacrifice in the American continent. Like, low key, thank you. But also, fucking, like, rape and murder and smallpox. Smallpox,
yeah,
above all. Yeah.
yeah. Just why? Can we just not? Like, I don't know. And plus, they didn't entirely end it. Like, people are gonna find a way to kill someone, you know?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I just gave you 2 myself, but, anyway.
Yeah. So now we're gonna take a graphic turn into present times. So this is current, kind of like you were talking current, but you were talking more not in the same area. So,
Yeah.
and this is definitely horrifying, and I was really surprised to learn about this because well, for one, Jesus Christ, some of this is in 2019, but um this is Tanzania, which is in Africa.
You mean Tanzania?
Is it Tanzania?
Yeah. You
No,
uncultured swine.
Tanzania. I don't think the A matters though, does it?
I don't know. I think that's how her to be pronounced. And I guess
Okay.
Tanzanians are coming for us now.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry, guys. But anyway, the reason I decided to cover this anyway, despite it being really horrifying, is because like I think that it is important for people to know about this because it needs to be stopped, y'all. It needs to stop. So in Tanzania, I'm sorry. Um, this country has the highest rates of albinism in the world.
Mm.
Albinos account for nearly 1 in every 1,400 people, according to statistics, compared to about 1 in 20,000 worldwide. And here's the thing: in Africa, if you're an albino or born an albino, there's going to be a ton of social discrimination against you.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is albinos marry each other because of this, and they breed and they create more albino children. And then the people are still discriminating against them.
Mm.
And it's just a whole sad situation. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it really sucks. So this is from an article called Albinos Targeted for Human Sacrifice in Tanzania. Groups seek government protection in the Washington Times, written by staff. So if you're one of the staff, thank you for providing this. So this girl was an infant and she was born in Tanzania as a albino. Her name was Angel Salvatore. And just being born that way, which really freaking sucks, brought some consequences. Her father tried to kill her
Oh my.
because, and here's why. Because they believe, or I guess some people believe, that if you kill an albino or sacrifice an albino, you'll just get tons of money, tons of wealth, and that's definitely not the case. I'm here to tell you murder will not make you rich unless you have a really good plan involved in getting their money. So her mother, Bastida Simon, she says her father thought she was a gift from God, one that he could use to get riches, and that's her comment on the attack. After that attack, Angel Salvatore, she spent the past 4 years living in Kabanga Protectorate Center. It's a government safe house for people living with albinism, and they have a lot of these set up now, but the issue with them is that it kind of separates them from the rest of the world. They aren't able to figure out what kind of jobs to get after they're done with school, stuff like that. It's just it doesn't fix the problem of discrimination. It just gives them a place to hide, and no one really wants to hide.
Yeah.
Angel passed away at the age of 18 from skin cancer in 2013 because it's easier to get skin cancer when you're an albino, which is really sad.
That's sad, yeah.
I know, but at the same time, I'm just grateful that she survived the attack, but I don't know. So there's an organization called Under the Same Sun, and it's a Canada-based albinism advocacy group. According to them, they said that more than 100 people with albinism have been physically attacked in Tanzania since 2006, including 71 who died.
Wow.
71 out of 100 died.
So fucked up,
Crazy.
dude. Just because like you happen to be born as part of the more like genetically varied side of the pool of your country, like the genetic pool, like it's just such a random ass thing to be born albino. I wonder why it happens with such a higher statistical rate in that country specifically, but it's still such a random ass thing, like to make that, like to kill people because of that. It's so fucked up.
Yeah, and the reason to answer that question actually is in my research I found that Tanzania is actually supposedly the birthplace of genetic mutation, so it's actually, it makes sense, but it's really sad. They're seen as a source of magic in Tanzania's traditional communities. They're called ghost or 00, which in Swahili signifies someone who is less than human. Legend suggests that when an albino is killed, he or she never really dies, which I think definitely feeds into that whole delusion of being like, oh no, it's totally fine. They're less than human. They're not going to die anyway.
They should ask that
I'm going to get rich.
They should ask that dead 18-year-old girl if she's really dead.
Right, exactly. It's like, you guys are brutal. Like, this is not okay. But these are led, like the human sacrifices / attacks, they're led by witch doctors who use the albino body parts in potions that they claim to bring riches. Yeah, just let that sink in for a moment.
Straight out of like a horror book, like a novel.
Yeah, it's like, can we not do that? How about we don't take body parts of human beings and say that they are magical and will bring you luck? Just no, let's not do that.
Yeah.
So, in rural northwest Tanzania, there's a cornfield where they buried a 3-year-old girl who was an albino. Her name was Naimana Dodi, I think. And her grave is like very susceptible to grave robbers because people want her body parts, which is disgusting. She's a 3-year-old. What happened, how she died, someone kidnapped her and she was found in pieces the next day. Yeah, and her mother, Angelista Nurama, after her daughter was killed, she took her youngest child to the protection center and they've just been staying there ever since. And honestly, I do not blame them at all. Like, do what you got to do to protect your family. And there this is like an actual like political issue happening because it's still happening, like I said, and like the centers are an attempt to stop these issues, but at the same time, Tanzania is suffering from the journalism that's being happened, like that's surrounding these, and they think that it's like bad press or whatever. But it's like it's bad that this is happening in your country. Like
Yeah.
that's the issue.
I think trash to the erase of your
Yeah,
issues.
and they're not making many strides to help them. You know, like I
I
mean,
mean, the
I guess I
government,
can't say
the
that.
government in Tanzania is probably composed of the same kind of people that think the same kind of things about albinos.
Right, right. And that is what I want to talk about later. So, in 2015, so this was just 4 years ago. It's weird because when even 2010 feels like yesterday to me, so I don't know, it's weird. Um, Tanzanian authorities arrested more than 200 witch doctors and herbalists across the country and charged them with several crimes, including murder and human trafficking. This is quoted directly from Face to Face Africa by Frederick Nugi. I don't know how to say your last name. Ngugi.
Okay.
Anyway, he wrote this great article about this. So they actually did arrest 200 people for this, but it's still not stopping. Anyway, each suspect had to pay 75 grand for every complete set of albino body parts found on their person or in their residence. So in March of the same year, 2015, a Tanzanian court sentenced 4 people to death after they were found guilty of killing an albino woman. I guess I'll just finish by talking about this one that happened January 1st, 2019. This murder occurred on the New Year in the Conde area in Nakta Bay. So a 54-year-old man named Yassine Quenz-Pri, he was a hospital attendant. He was murdered in front of his child, and he was an albino. Yeah, the people hacked off both his hands and fled with them, obviously,
Oh my
because that's the
god.
value. And basically, what the government decided to do was charge the murderers with genocide. They thought that by charging these people with genocide rather than just murder would deter people from doing this because it's considered a worse crime and it's based upon killing people based on who they are. I don't know that this is going to deter anyone because the problem isn't getting caught. They know what they're doing is wrong. You know what I mean? What I found interesting about this is that some are indicating
Right.
in their studies that the killings of albinos are arising during elections. So maybe it's a response to political issues, I guess. Um, Wanting better luck. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes it okay. I forgot.
Yeah, I don't know. But in this particular or in another case that was happening around the same time, 2018, late 2018, 2019, there was another murder of a man who was albino. And what happened was people were implicated in this murder that were pretty high status. So there was a medical practitioner and a police officer who were kind of implicated in this murder. And everyone was kind of shocked. But like you said, like, the people believe this, like even your police officers, you know?
Mhm.
And that's one example of human sacrifice that's happening in present day. And it
Yeah.
was really horrifying to read. I can't believe this is happening. Like, and
I actually had no idea about any of this, so all that you're bringing today is new to me. I didn't know that like there was one country that was just straight up killing so many people because they were albino. Like that's so fucked up. Um,
yeah,
I don't know what to tell you. Like Everyone, just stop.
Right, just
Like,
stop. Please stop. Well, also, like, I didn't really go into this topic hoping to find something that was um, present. So I was really surprised, but also, I think this was supposed to be our fun episode.
every
It
episode is supposed to
wasn't.
be a fun episode. I'll take some dark, twisted turn.
Yeah. So that's what I have for you. I will have trouble sleeping tonight for sure. If you are interested in helping or donating to this cause, you can check out Under the Same Sun, or whatever you feel you got to do. Spread the
Oh.
word, guys.
Well, that's a nice note to end that on. Thank you. Everyone donate to this charitable organization. Please help stop the killings in Tanzania. We don't stand human sacrifice. Definitely not.
No,
Um,
we do not.
Now, if any of you have suggestions for next week's episode, which by the way, we did get some over the week, so we're going to be going over those in order to decide next week's episode. But if you have any further suggestions for future episodes, do let us know by DMing us on Twitter at Talk Scary or sending us a message on Facebook at Scary Talk. You can also find us on all podcast listening platforms. We are on Google Play, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, Stitcher, TuneIn. Okay, everyone, please don't fucking kill anyone.
Please don't kill
um,
anyone. We provided a lot of good information on
like,
how to do
yeah,
just
like,
that, but please don't.
yeah, this is basically like a how-to guide, and also, I don't know what like lesson should be taken away from this besides like don't kill people. So we're just gonna say that like if human sacrifice sucks, like great for podcast content, but boy, are these murders fucking gruesome and terrible. We'll try to come back with a more lighthearted episode next week. The Mothman is real, and we love you.
I guess the thesis here is that scary talk is here to scare you. So I hope you're scared and you're not enthralled. All
Yeah,
right.
so, I mean, yeah. I hope it worked and your expectations weren't subdued, and you're happy because boy, are we terrified as well. Uh,
Bye.
yeah, bye.